Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Friday, April 10th, 2020. A lot of coronavirus news that I want to get to related to sports. Another wide receiver in the NFL is traded. I have my 2017 NFL ReDraft and my top 10 albums of the calendar year 2018. All right, we'll start at coronavirus. A lot of news to unravel over here. First, I want to talk about UFC events are all postponed. The 249 event has been canceled. The rumor out there is that ESPN was a little uncomfortable with them having this, and Dana White was forced to cancel. I think Dana White's doing the right thing here. I personally think that he was told no by some higher-ups, most notably maybe President Trump or maybe even the governor of the state that I believe that this was supposed to be held in California. So he was forced to cancel this. Right move. I heard that this was supposed to be held at a Indian Reservoir Casino in California. It was reported by media outlets, multiple of them, and they ended up canceling the event. So no UFC 49, which is not great at all. FIBA World Cup canceled because of the coronavirus. This is something that broke the other day, but I just didn't address it. They'll move it to 2021, so just like the Olympics. So that would be very interesting. So the players are going to be playing in that and the FIBA. So we're going to have basketball all year round in 2021, assuming the season starts in time, which you never know. Yeah, FIBA World Cup canceled, and I'm interested to see when they have it, maybe in end of August, early September, because the Olympics are obviously end of July to the beginning of August. The XFL has suspended operations and have no plans to bring back the league in 2021 yet. It was reported by Field Yates and Kevin Seifert of ESPN. And the XFL suspended operations this morning and laid off nearly all of its staff. So the XFL obviously suffering through this very, very trying time here. And hopefully we see the league back in 2021. I had fun watching that league, and it's something that I talked about a little bit on this show, but not really. 8-team league. It was New York, Dallas, St. Louis, Houston, Los Angeles, DC, Tampa Bay, and Seattle were the 8 teams. Some of the teams that were supposed to be good underachieved, like Tampa. Dallas and Houston were supposed to be good. DC was supposed to be good. New York surprised. St. Louis was okay. Seattle surprised a little bit. So I saw a little bit of parity in that league, although it was in its first season. And hopefully it has a second season as well. A big story that was reported not long ago is that the NBA is considering pushing the draft no sooner than August 1st. So I think this is the right thing to do as well, because obviously teams are just want to gather more information once this pandemic is gone. And obviously this is the disadvantage some of these NFL general managers have. And I still think we're going to have the NFL draft in 13 days from now. And I think I'm going to have some guests on the show the following week to have some other people's voices on here for once and a change. And for the first time since quarantine. But back to the NBA for a second. I think they're doing the right thing here, because obviously the NFL indifference is that they're starting to get into scout and know some of these prospects even before this all happened. and the NBA and college basketball had to obviously shut down abruptly. So I think they're doing the right thing here. And the other takeaway I have here is that if they move the draft to August, I think it's more likely than not that they actually do finish the season. So that's what moving the draft up to August 1st means. And then maybe free agency will be in August as well. And then they release the schedule. And then maybe they start the season in November rather than October, and they play more back-to-backs and 4 games in 5 nights, 4 games in 6 nights, etc. So that's what I think ends up happening with the NBA and the NHL next year, especially if these two sports return in the summertime. So, so the NBA draft looks like it's being pushed back. And one more coronavirus-related item. This is actually kind of fun. If baseball returns, they're realigning the divisions for the regular season, or I should say just for the season in general. The Grapefruit League and the Cactus League, and the games would be played in the spring training facilities in Arizona and Florida. Grapefruit League North, Yankees, Phillies, Blue Jays, Tigers, Pirates. The South, the Red Sox, the Twins, the Braves, the Rays, and the Orioles. The East would be the Nationals, the Astros, the Mets, the Cardinals, and the Marlins. The Northeast in the Cactus League would be the Cubs, the Giants, the Athletics, the Rockies, and the Diamondbacks. Cactus League West would be the Dodgers, the White Sox, the Reds, the Indians, and the Angels. And the Northwest Division in the Cactus League would be the Brewers, the Padres, the Mariners, the Rangers, and the Royals. So the strongest division, I think, is the Grapefruit League East Division that conceivably has 4 contenders in there. 4 teams that I think all have a somewhat chance to win the World Series. I feel very strongly about their top 4 teams. Although Grapefruit League South is pretty nice too, although the Red Sox are rebuilding. The Twins, they improved themselves. The Braves have been in the playoffs the last couple years, and then the Tampa Bay Rays have a solid rotation and nice offensive players and made some good moves this past offseason. And then there's the Orioles, who suck. Grapefruit League North is pretty much 1 contender, 1 could-be contender, and then 3 bad teams. Cactus League, you have 1 contender, 2 could-be contenders, and 2 rebuilding/bad teams. Cactus League West, you have potentially 4 contenders in here, so that's pretty good. Maybe even 5. That might be the best division, actually, now that I think about it, because all those teams are capable of going on runs, except maybe the Angels, but they're certainly better than the Orioles, and they're better than the Marlins, so I guess the best division actually is the Cactus League West, because I just missed the fact that the Angels are much better than the Marlins and the Orioles. So yeah, that's probably the best division, the Cactus League West, because they have the Dodgers, who are a contender. You have the Reds, who improved themselves in the offseason as well, so the White Sox, and you have the Indians, who have a solid rotation, a nice offense, some pieces in the bullpen, but a lot of people tend to think that they're going to trade some pieces and whatnot. So people are down on the Indians, and I think that they have a chance to be good. Northwest is the worst division easily, in my opinion. You have 2 teams that I think could surprise, and then 3 bad teams. So, so the worst division is easily the Northwest, and I think the best division is the West in the Cactus League. And I think that the South and the East in the Grapefruit League are pretty good divisions. I think Grapefruit League North is not that good. It only has one contender in it and one team that obviously could potentially contend in the Phillies. Grapefruit League East has 4 really solid teams, and then the terrible Marlins. So yeah, I don't love this arrangement. I think the normal divisions are better and more spread out because there's a lot of bad teams in the Northwest. There's a lot of good teams in the West and in the East. So, yeah, I think some of these teams, it couldn't worked out better. Like the Yankees, I think, are in a good position here. I think the Dodgers have some competition, but they are obviously a really good team. I think the South's going to be really nice if this is indeed the divisions. The East, I think, could be very good as well. So yeah, I kind of like this, but at the same time, I think the regular divisions are better. Now I want to talk about a trade that happened in the NFL last night. Brandon Cooks was traded away from the Los Angeles Rams to the Houston Texans, along with the 4th-round pick, and the Rams got a 2nd-round pick back. A lot of people hate this trade for the Texans because people are just saying, oh, well, they downgraded from DeAndre Hopkins to Brandon Cooks. Yes, that is a downgrade, but Brandon Cooks isn't bad. People just hate Brandon Cooks because he's been concussion-prone the last couple of years, and he's been traded a bunch of times. Brandon Cooks isn't bad, but he's not DeAndre Hopkins either. So, yeah, the Texans have a competent receiver with Will Fuller, and then their number 3 guy is Kenny Stills, who is a veteran past its prime. I think that Watson can get a lot out of Brandon Cooks. I really do. And I think the Rams got some value here for Brandon Cooks. Because obviously I think the teams that gave up firsts for him obviously overpaid at the time. Now looking back, especially New England, because if I'm not mistaken, that pick that the Saints got for Brandon Cooks turned out to be Ryan Ramczyk, who's one of the better offensive linemen in the league now. So, yeah, that trade looks like a major win in East for the New Orleans Saints. And then the first that the Patriots got back for Brandon Cooks, Sony Michel, who is a nice running back, but he's no Saquon Barkley. He's no Ezekiel Elliott. He's no Todd Gurley. He's no even Dalvin Cook. So Christian McCaffrey, you can just keep going on and on. Leonard Fournette, he's not that guy. So I think that he was traded for good value with the 2nd rounder, and now the Rams need to hit on this pick, obviously, because obviously they're a team that was a contender not long ago, but not anymore. They think there's a chance that they finish last place in that division this year, but we need to see how they do in the draft, and we have to see how the Cardinals do in their draft and who ends up getting injured before the season, because injuries are inevitable, and who stays healthy and whatnot. So no real predictions for anybody quite yet. Now I'm going to do my 2017 NHL redraft. I go from 1 to 31, obviously. So, without further ado, here we go. Number 1, New Jersey Devils take Cale Makar. Cale Makar, obviously, a super-duper talented young defenseman. Somehow he didn't make the All-Star team last year, but he was having a phenomenal season. Well, there's so many good players on the Avalanche, so somebody good had to be left off. But this guy, I think, has a Norris Trophy in his future, and the Devils take him over Nico Hischier. 2, Philadelphia Flyers. Elias Pettersson. Boy, if he was on Philly, think of how much better that team would be. Boy, they really missed out. They bought into the hype of Nolan Patrick, who's been an unmitigated bust so far in the National Hockey League. Boy, I mean, he could conceivably turn around. Late bloomers happen, but Elias Patterson really broke onto the scenes immediately. 3 Dallas Stars. Miro Heiskanen. So Dallas doesn't do a do-over. They take their guy in Heiskanen, who has really emerged as one of the better defensemen in the league. For Colorado Avalanche, Nico Hischier. So with Kel McCarr off the board, they go with Hischier. So them and the Devils pretty much flop picks. I think if Nico Hischier didn't get injured last season, then he would have had his career high in points. And this year he was having an okay year, but I don't know if he is going to end up really being worth the number 1 overall pick when it's all said and done. Number 5, Vancouver Canucks, Robert Thomas. Robert Thomas, obviously a really good player on the Blues. He was chosen 20th, which is nuts. Now looking back, and in this spot, they took Elias Pettersson, who I had going number 2, obviously. Number 6, the Vegas Golden Knights take Callan Foote, who everybody just gushes over. Obviously, he was Tampa's first-round pick in 2017, and he was chosen 14th. And that was a year Tampa Bay just underachieved. But this guy projects to be a first-line, top-line defenseman for years to come. And I think the Knights would have been happy with having him. And in the spot, they took Cody Glass. 7, New York Rangers, Kyler Yamamoto. Kyler was having a really good season before the pause of the season for the Oilers. The Oilers tend to overhype their prospects a lot because of the presence of Connor McDavid. I just personally feel that way. And even Leon Draisaitl, who's emerged as a superstar. But Kyler Yamamoto is someone that was having a great season before the pause. And he'd certainly be a top 6 guy if he were on the Rangers this year. And in the spot, the Rangers took Elias Anderson. Yikes. 8, the Buffalo Sabres, Gabriel Velarde. Velarde was having a nice year on the Kings this year. I think he's a future piece for them going forward. He certainly would have been a nice number 2 center behind Jack Eichel. And in this spot, they took Casey Middlestat. 9, Detroit Red Wings, Nick Suzuki. So the Red Wings take the talented center in Suzuki, who Vegas took at the 13th spot, and then they dealt him to Montreal for Max Pacioretty. So Montreal has themselves a good player in return for Max Pacioretty, and he would have been a nice top 6 guy, maybe even top line guy if he was on the Red Wings. 10, the Florida Panthers, Martin Necas. Oh yeah, by the way, Red Wings at 9 took Michael Rasmussen. So the Panthers take Martin Necas with the 10th pick. He was somebody that was having a nice year with the Panthers, with the Hurricanes this year. And instead, the Panthers took Owen Tippett. Oof. 11, Los Angeles Kings, Cody Glass. So they take the talented forward who drops to 11 after Gabriel Velarde goes a couple spots higher. Glass is somebody that showed some flashes with the Golden Knights and really showed a lot of potential in the minor leagues. I think this guy has a chance to be a star someday, but it hasn't really shown yet in the National Hockey League. 12, Carolina Hurricanes, Philip Hedl. So Carolina takes Philip Hedl here after Necas goes 2 spots earlier. Hedl was having a fine year on the Rangers this year as like a versatile forward playing on their second or third line. 13, Vegas Golden Knights, Nolan Patrick. So the Golden Knights take a flyer here on a on the struggling forward that many people thought was going to be the number one pick in this draft. That's crazy. And in the spot they took Nick Suzuki, who I've gone a couple spots higher. 14, Tampa Bay Lightning, Alexandre Teixeira. So the Lightning take Teixeira here, who showed some flashes in the NHL this year. And Teixeira was taken, I believe, in the second round, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, they go with the good forward there in Teixeira with Callan Foote off the board. The Florida Panthers at 15. Josh Norris. So they take a chance on the young forward who was on the Sharks and got flipped to Ottawa in the Erik Karlsson deal. And in this spot, or no, it was the Vegas Golden Knights. Did I say the Panthers? But yeah, the Vegas Golden Knights take Josh Norris. And in this spot, in reality, they took Erik Brannstrom. 16th, the Calgary Flames take Morgan Frost, who showed a lot of potential in the lower leagues and was on the Flyers this season and produced some points. And in the spot, the Flames took Juuso Valimaki. 7th, the Toronto Maple Leafs take Casey Mittelstadt, so Mittelstadt drops from 8 to 17 in the redraft. Maybe Mittelstadt is like their fourth-line center on the Leafs. And in this spot, they took Timothy Liljegren. 18th, the Boston Bruins go with Nicholas Hague, somebody who was a second-round pick that really showed to be pretty good. And someone I think could be a solid NHL player going forward. And instead, they took Urho Vakakainen in the real draft. 19, San Jose Sharks, Henri Jokiharju. So Jokiharju goes 19. He goes earlier. Jokiharju, somebody that was drafted by the Blackhawks and then was traded away to Buffalo for Alexander Nylander, and showed some flashes with both the Hawks and the Sabres. Instead, the Sharks took Josh Norris, which turned out to be a pretty good pick, who they dealt in the Ottawa deal for Erik Karlsson. 20, the St. Louis Blues go with Eli Tolvanen. Tolvanen was a absolute can't-miss guy, according to a lot of scouts. He really is underwhelmed, but I still think that he'd have potential. Maybe the Preds deal him and he has a change of scenery. But I still believe in this guy a little bit. And then they it actually took Robert Thomas here, who has proven to be a pretty big steal. 21, the New York Rangers. Michael Rasmussen. So they take the lottery pick Rasmussen here in this spot. Who played a little bit with the Red Wings. Didn't really show much. Instead, the Rangers took in this spot Philip Hedl, who I have in the lottery. 22, the Edmonton Oilers go with Pierre-Olivier Joseph, somebody who was taken later in the first round, somebody that was dealt from Arizona to Pittsburgh in the deal that sent Philip Kessel to Arizona and Alex Galchenyuk to Pittsburgh as well. And in the spot, they took Kyler Yamamoto, who I have in the lottery. 23, to Coyotes, Erik Brannstrom. Brannstrom is somebody that has potential. He went 15th to Vegas in the real draft. The Coyotes instead took Pierre-Olivier Joseph, who I just talked about. 24, the Winnipeg Jets, Mario Ferraro. Ferraro is somebody that was picked in the second round. Someone that has some potential. And instead, the Jets went with Christian Vesalainen. Number 25, the Canadiens go with Elias Anderson, the lottery talent, falling all the way to 25. He really hasn't shown much with the Rangers or even in the AHL, to say the least. Instead, the Canadiens took Ryan Poehling. 26, the Dallas Stars take Ryan Poehling. Somebody like Anderson has not really shown nothing in the NHL, but Poehling did have a hat trick in his lone NHL appearance in the 18-19 season, so that he has that going for him. And in this spot, the Stars took Jake Ottinger, the goalie from Boston University. 27, the Philadelphia Flyers take Timothy Lidgren, so the mid-first round pick drops all the way to 27 after Morgan Frost goes earlier. Lindgren is somebody that the Leafs are high on. They would refuse to deal him in any possible deal to make their team better. 28, the Ottawa Senators take Shane Bowers. So no do-over here as they take their guy. And, he was their guy, and then they dealt him away in the Matt Duchene deal. Number 29, the Chicago Blackhawks, Christian Vesalainen. So they take a chance here with the Finnish forward. In this spot, they took Henri Jokiharju, who I have going higher than 29. 30, Nashville Predators. They take Urho Vaakanainen, who the Bruins took 18th in this draft. Seen some time with the Bruins, but really didn't show much. In this spot, they took Eli Tolvanen, who I talked about a little bit ago on this podcast. And at number 31, the St. Louis Blues go with Klim Kostin. So no do-over here for the Blues as they take their guy in Kostin. All right, now I'm going to do my top 10 albums of 2018. So, without further ado, here we go. 10th place, Kamikaze Eminem. Pretty good album. Eminem always has good albums. He had 3 singles off this album: Fall, Venom, and Lucky You. 9th place, Camila Cabello. This album was pretty much her coming out party, in my opinion. 3 singles: Havana, Never Be the Same, and Consequences. 8th place, Sweetener, Ariana Grande. Solid album. No Tears Left to Cry, God Is a Woman, and Breathin' were the singles. 7th place, the A Star Is Born soundtrack, Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. The songs that stand out on this album: Shallow, Always Remember Us This Way, and I'll Never Love Again. And obviously everybody loves the ballad Shallow. 6th place, Culture 2, Migos. Solid album with 4 singles on it: Motorsport, Stir Fry, Walk It, Talk It, and Narcos. 5th place, Astroworld, Travis Scott. So a pretty good album. 4 singles: Butterfly Effect, Sicko Mode, Yosemite, and Wake Up. 4, Queen, Nicki Minaj. Another solid album by one of the best female rappers out there. Chun-Li, Bed, Barbie Dreams, and Good Form are the 4 singles. 3rd place, Invasion of Privacy, Cardi B. So a really good album by Cardi B. You could argue this was her breakout album. Bodak Yellow, Barty or Cardi, Be Careful. I like it. and Ring were the 5 singles off the album. Second place, Golden Hour, Casey Musgraves, so a country album cracking my top 2. She is a beautiful singer, Musgraves, and this is a beautiful album. Butterflies, Space Cowboy, High Horse, Slowborn, and Rainbow were the 5 singles off the album. And my number 1 album of 2018, Scorpion, that's Drake. 7 singles off the album. God's Plan was the lead single. That's the best song on the album in my mind. Nice for What, I'm Upset, Doesn't Matter to Me, In My Feelings, Nonstop, and Mob Ties. So that's it for the show. Monday will probably be a longer show because it's going to be the weekend, recapping the news, and I'll have more countdowns or not countdowns, but lists and an NFL mock draft as well, because next week obviously is the week before the draft. So I'll do 2 or 3 mock drafts, and then draft week we're going to do mocks every day. So we're getting to the home stretch of the NFL draft, and I have a lot of draft-related activities coming your way on the show within the next 2 weeks. I hope you guys have a great weekend, everyone.